After doing the Gołąbki story about having the word Gołąbkis in my head for many years and finally looking it up, another word that I had bouncing around in my head was homogenized. Now, in high school, I used to sit across from Joe Warhola, and Joe Warhola's father and my father went to school in Pennsylvania together. Here we are in New Jersey, and Joe would always mention that we really didn't get along real well, but we'd sit together at the lunch table. And one of his jokes was he would reach across, and I had a little square carton, a waxed cardboard carton of milk. And if you put your finger over homogenize a certain way, the milk would read homo milk. And then he would laugh. So anyway, that was one that he did it. He did it at least 6 times. Now the name Warhola sounds like Warhol, like Andy Warhol. Yes, Andy Warhol's last name was Warhola. He changed it. Now Andy Warhol did the Campbell Soup labels as art, and the Marilyn Monroe, but that was Joe Warhola's father's like second or third cousin. And my father would always, if I mentioned Joe Warhol, I had to hear that story. But anyway, every once in a while, I would think about Joe Warhola and the homo milk. I was at McGraw Edison. I'm sitting at the cafeteria, and I got the little square milk carton, and I'm drinking it. And I just happened to say, what does homogenize mean? You know, it's one of those words. It's on the milk. We know what pasteurized is. You put the milk in a vessel. You put it in boiling water, the vessel. You have a thermometer in the milk, and when it reaches a certain temperature, you shut the heat off. And now that milk is pasteurized. All the bacteria has been killed in it. It'll help the milk keep longer in the refrigerator. That's all it does. And on the negative side, some of those bacteria might actually help your immune system that you killed off. But anyway, so these guys are start shooting from the hip what homogenize mean. One guy says, oh, it's just a straining process. They strain the milk. And I'm like, what are they straining out like cow hairs? What the hell? You know. Then another guy says, it's the same as pasteurized, but they do it differently. So I accepted that. So the internet comes along, right? And there's these certain things I want to look up because I learned that so many people bullshit you in life. And then when you look it up, you find a different answer. Then when you go back to them, they'll double down. So it's a waste of time. I can tell you that right now. So anyway, we now know homogenized is not pasteurized. So what the hell is it? So if you look it up, you put homogenized in and Google it, it'll come up with it used in a sort of a political way or a woke way. Put in homogenized space milk, and you'll find out that the milk is blended so it doesn't separate. Now, you're probably too young to know that milk used to separate. Now, here's the story. My father worked in a dairy farm. He worked at the store, and every morning he had to go over and get fat from other cows, probably cream or butter fat, and they bring it back and they mix it with their cows' milk to make it pass, because their cows were getting older. As cows get older, the milk gets thinner. So my father knows all about milk. Now, here's the story. Anytime you would mention milk in my household, or my family's household, my mother would go on a rant. Oh, your dopey father, he used to take the milk out of the refrigerator and pour it in his coffee and then put it back. And I'm supposed to understand that. What the hell he grabs the milk out of the refrigerator, he pours it in his coffee. So I questioned it a little bit more. Now we get to the fact that back when they got married, milk wasn't homogenized. It was just moo cow fucking milk, as Lewis Black would say. So when you put the milk, you pour the milk. When you take the milk out, you're supposed to shake it. And that mixes the cream. Everything in the milk gets mixed. And then you pour it into your coffee and put it back. Now, after you put it back, you'll see there's a little bulge up in the neck of the bottle, and that's where the cream deposits. And cream rises to the top. It's a saying that people used when they mention work. You say, I'm working in a place, I'm not doing that well, and they'll say, look, the cream rises to the top. In other words, if you know what you're doing, they'll see what you're doing, and they'll promote you. They're just being nice to you. Anyway, so the cream rises to the top. So my father would grab the milk, he'd open the lid, the cap, which was cardboard waxed, or paper waxed, and he'd pour it into he wouldn't shake it. So my mother would come along, and she would pour it into her coffee, and it was 1% milk because my father got all the cream. Cream rises to the top. It's in that little bulge in the neck of a milk bottle. Go look at vintage milk bottles, and you'll see it's got in the neck, it's got a bulge, and that's where the cream rises and fills in. And my mother would, if you mentioned milk, my mother would go into the store, a rant, and I sort of do that too. Because I think we have a lot of issues, okay? My parents had issues, I have issues with some of the stuff my parents pulled. But I just want to tell you, homogenize is, they can blend it. I don't know if they use the chemicals. I didn't really read up on it because I've been drinking it for 73 years. And I probably don't want to know how they do it, but they mix it up where it stays mixed. Now, I'm pretty sure they take the cream and butter fat out of the milk before they homogenize it. And they might leave a little bit in there. But that's where if you think about your 1% milk, that doesn't have it. They don't have trouble taking the fat out of milk because when it comes out of the cow, it starts to separate. And you can churn it and make butter. You can separate the cream. It's all just by churning and stuff. Read up on it. But I just wanted to go in and explain homogenize and pasteurization. And Louis Pasteur came up with the idea of heating milk up to a certain temperature and killing all the bacteria. Because once they understand what bacteria was, they started getting afraid of it, and they started sterilizing everything, which I think they caused other problems. But anyway, that's my milk story. Now, I have other milk stories. I know you probably say, well, how many milk stories you have? A lot. All right, a lot. Milk was a commodity when I was a kid. And yeah, I probably could do 6 stories on milk easily. All right, I think that's it. All right, that's it.